Hey everyone, welcome to Logan's Mosh Pit. Glad to have you here. So today we're going to do another episode of the Setlist Snubs series. In this series we're going to talk about a handful of songs from different bands that don't get played live very much. However, I'm going to give you some reasons why I feel like those underrated songs actually deserve to get played live more often than they do. If there's a specific band you guys want me to talk about in a future episode of this series, feel free to drop a comment down below. I'll check your feedback. Today we're going to talk about some underrated songs from AC/DC, a band powerful enough to change our very alphabet. Of course, AC/DC is one of the most iconic rock bands in history. Even after their famous frontman Bon Scott passed away in 1980, AC/DC was far from finished. They could have chosen to go their separate ways, break apart. No one would have blamed them. However, they kept going. Somehow they rebounded with a heavy hitter album, Back in Black, which basically surpassed everything they had done up to that point. Became their most popular album by far. Pretty amazing they've been able to maintain their star power all these years. So now let's talk about some reasons why all bands, not just AC/DC, choose to play certain songs live and decide to ignore other songs. So the first reason is that casual fans, most of the time, are usually only interested in the most popular songs that a band puts out. They tend to flock toward the biggest hits that the band releases, and they tend to ignore the rest. So in AC/DC's case, songs like TNT, Thunderstruck, Highway to Hell, Dirty Deeds, Hell's Bells, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, etc. That's not even the full list. Those are the songs that casual fans expect to hear at shows. So the next reason is that there's a tremendous amount of pressure from both fans and even within the band itself to play those biggest hits live. They want to satisfy the fans. They want to keep the fans happy. That's their main goal. The reason why they do that is if the fans leave the show with a positive experience, if they enjoyed what they heard, chances are they're probably going to come back to a show later on in the tour. On the contrary, if you leave a show not satisfied with what you heard, chances are you're probably not going to want to come back. So that's the reason why bands choose to play their most popular songs live. The next reason is that non-critically acclaimed albums that didn't sell as many copies, in other words, those albums such as Fly on the Wall, Flick of the Switch, Blow Up Your Video, Stiff Upper Lip, Rock or Bust, those weren't as popular compared to other AC/DC albums. Therefore, chances are you're probably not going to hear very many songs off those albums played live. The fans won't be familiar with that. They won't recognize those songs. So they tend to stay away from those songs. The next reason is that sometimes, in certain cases, a band despises a certain track that they've released over the years, so they purposely choose to act like it doesn't exist. They decide not to play it at all. So the fifth and final reason is that, like it or not, casual fans simply outnumber the hardcore fans when it comes to every band. So the casual fan's voice will be heard louder versus the hardcore fan. The bands will cater to the needs of the casual fans. They'll play the songs that the casual fans demand at shows. So now let's move on to some AC/DC stats I gathered off of Setlist.fm. I'll put a link to Setlist.fm in the description if you're interested. So with Setlist.fm, you basically go to Google, then type in the name of the band, followed by tour statistics, and it will take you to a list of all their songs that they played live in descending order from most played live song to least played live song. Has a ton of information on there. You can also check out information about their tours, their albums, their songs, whatever you want to know. It's probably on there. So, according to Setlist.fm, AC/DC has been touring since 1973, a long time. Their most played live song has been The Jack. The Jack has been performed live approximately 1,746 times. Which means if you listen to The Jack 1,746 times, non-stop, without any breaks, all day, it would take you just a tad bit over 7 days to get done. Crazy to think about. So now let's move on to some underrated AC/DC songs I picked out of their discography, and tried to be fair and give every album a chance. I didn't want to pick a handful of songs from the same album. That wouldn't be fair. So I tried to pick a variety. So I picked 5 songs. We're going to go through each of them. I arranged them in descending order, so the underrated song that has been played live the most will be at the top, then the second most played, third most played, fourth most played, fifth most played. So let's go. By the way, I'll put a link in the description to all the songs that we're going to go over. If you want to check them out, highly recommend it. So let's kick things off with Soul Stripper. Soul Stripper, getting a little tongue-tied. Soul Stripper comes off the 74 Jailbreak album. Soul Stripper has been performed live 225 times. The first 2 minutes of this song were basically all Malcolm Young here, churning out some staggering riffs that will blow your mind. You still get the classic AC/DC formula with Bon Scott belting out the title of the song and the chorus. AC/DC did that a lot. It's just a thing of beauty to hear how great of a team that Malcolm and Angus Young make. They feed off each other. They go together great. So Bon Scott just knocked it out of the park when it came to the vocals as well. So winner all across the board. The lyrics were dope, and the delivery made it even more superior, in my opinion. So that's the first underrated song, Soul Stripper. Next, let's move on to Ball Breaker, aka the Birds and the Bees Rock Edition. Ball Breaker, off the album of the same name, has been performed live even less, 151 times. You have this sweet switch going on between bar chords and power chords, another hallmark of AC/DC. Recognizable right away, you won't mistake this song being attached to any other band besides AC/DC. Incredibly recognizable. Brian Johnson's voice, of course this is from the Brian Johnson era. This album was released in 95, I believe. Some people prefer Bon Scott's voice, some people prefer Brian Johnson's voice. I happen to like both. I lean toward Bon Scott a little bit more, but gotta give credit to both of them. So Brian Johnson's voice seems higher than Bon Scott's when you listen to it. It's not a bad thing though, because his voice still contains a ton of roughness that AC/DC needed to stand out. This propelled them to the top. AC/DC, one of the things that I admire about AC/DC, they were never afraid to write songs that were related to controversial topics like sex. They were able to get away with a lot of stuff when it came to writing songs. They weren't afraid to push the envelope, so to speak. So this song included. Since this song is about sex, it's indeed an eargasm. Brian Johnson puts on a stellar vocal performance. Some nice harmonies going on. A monstrous solo in there. Pretty easy song to follow along to. Song that you won't have any problem listening to all the way through. It doesn't feel tedious at all. Very enjoyable experience. So that's Ball Breaker. Now let's move on to Gone Shootin' from Powerage. This song has been played live just 75 times, which sucks. This song would probably be my favorite from this cluster of songs I picked out. Gone Shootin' wins the crown for me. So Gone Shootin' feels like a simplistic song, yet also addictive, mainly because of the guitar parts. The guitars mean just as much as the vocals. So the main riff especially gets your attention. Very robust riff. This is one of those songs you can't sit still while you listen to it. There's just too much energy bubbling up from the surface here. It makes you want to move. You can't sit still. So Bond does a commendable job here of expressing the lyrics in a genuine fashion. It's an important quality to have as a vocalist. You gotta mean what you sing. Make it seem genuine to the fans. He absolutely does this. The solo will probably floor you even more than the vocals. So this song doesn't have anything that will bother you. No immediate negatives that drag the song down. Just solid all the way through. True masterpiece. So AC/DC, even very early on in their career, were masters at being able to find the right balance between the vocals and the instrumentals. They never had too much or too little of anything. All blended together seamlessly. So next up, I picked the song Landslide from the White Album. Oh, I screwed up. I got it mixed up. Thought we were talking about Landslide from Fleetwood Mac's The White Album. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry. We're gonna edit this out, right? Okay, good. Sorry about that. I meant to say Landslide from the Flick of the Switch album. Forgive me. Unfortunately, Landslide has just been played live once, a single time. Crazy. Definitely not the only underrated song from Flick of the Switch. We could spend all day talking about how underrated Flick of the Switch is. Truly deserves more credit. So, once again, this song just crushes the competition. I think it can go toe-to-toe with many of the biggest hits that casual fans tend to be in love with. I think this song stands its ground. It's another hardcore anthem that AC/DC specializes in. So, I love this song a lot. I really appreciate what they did here with Landslide. So, finally, the last song that we're going to discuss today is Overdose. Even though you can't overdose on this song. You can listen to it forever and never get tired of it. Never feel any ill effects. So, this song comes off the Let There Be Rock album. Let There Be Rock. So, this song hasn't been played live ever. Not even once. Which makes no sense to me. I think it deserves to get played live regularly. So, this song, the opening, kind of makes me think of Hell's Bells. Has a similar vibe to that song. Plenty of distortion packed into this song. Full of distortion. I'm partial to the AC/DC songs that have this drawn out introduction with plenty of guitars seeping through. I like when AC/DC chooses to let the guitar kind of lead you into the song and then get into the vocals a few minutes later. Kind of a nice warm-up for what's to come. So Bond's voice sounds a little bit more subdued here versus other songs that he is sang with AC/DC. However, I don't think that's a problem. I think you'll still enjoy his voice a lot. So his voice still sounds equally pleasing. Of course, you have Angus and Malcolm again battling each other, exchanging blows. No clear winner here. They each have their moments. Their chemistry really defined what AC/DC stood for. One of the reasons why they became such a mainstream act. So, overdose, you can't overdose on this song. No way. So you should definitely check that song out as well. So, that's all I have for you guys. That does it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Until then, rock on.